What up, everyone? It's Arki Hodges here, president of the Black Achievement Fund, and we are here today for another info session. In addition to telling you all what the Black Achievement Fund is all about, our mission, so on and so forth, we are going to be doing some teaching. We're going to be discussing the all-black town of Eatonville, Florida. For some of you historians, you may know that this is the town that Zora Neale Hurston made famous in a lot of her writings. She was from Eatonville and really was enamored with the rich culture that existed there, and that became the focus of, again, much of her writings. So we're going to talk about the all-black town of Eatonton. But for those of you who are here because you want to know a little bit about what the Black Achievement Fund is, what we're all about, I'm going to give you a quick elevator spiel of our organization. The Black Achievement Fund, we are a Black Economic and Community Development Corporation, a nonprofit 501c3. Through a simple system of collective economics, or UJAMA. 10 million Black people and our allies, plus $9 a month, equals 90 million every single month and over $1 billion a year for us to do just that. With this recycled capital, BAF will economically empower Black people and build new Black communities, institutions, and municipalities that reflect our guiding principles and collective genius. Membership to the Black Achievement Fund is open to anyone who believes in our mission and our guiding principles, regardless of race, religion, political affiliation, or sexual identity. All BAF assets are collectively owned, okay? And once again, we are 501c3. All of your monthly contributions are 100% tax deductible, as well as any other donation that you may give to the organization. Now, we're not waiting to start. We're not waiting on 10 million people to start our program. We've been collecting contributions since June of 2020. We have recycled over $500,000 back into the Black community. We collectively purchased our first plot of land, which was 6 acres, and then had another 2 acres donated to the organization by my wife and myself. In addition to that, we operate our very own Kemet Club, which I'm broadcasting out of here in Atlanta, which is our very own social space. We have live events here. Members come here to just hang out, do business, have business meetings here. Members rent it out for birthday parties, bridal parties, what do you call it, baby showers, so on and so forth. It also has been a gathering space for meetings for other nonprofit organizations in the Atlanta area. Our signature program right now is our new Kemet Retreat and Residential Community, and this is a part of the 6 acres or 8 acres that we currently own of land in Toomsboro, Georgia. We are currently selling our first 1 acre lots in our first subdivision of New Kemet Retreat, and that's Pharaoh's Row. And if you want to know more about our land in Toomsboro, Georgia, and this is all on our website, on our homepage, you can go here and select here. Before I go on, speaking about our land, I was just on the land yesterday with Dr. Ray Hagins, and every time I go on the land, we discover some new food, new herb, plant, or some type of great species for farming and cultivating. And this go around, it was great. We have literally dozens and dozens of muscadines growing all throughout the property. I mean, we ate them. They were sweet and juicy. So if any of you out there who know how to make wine, please give us a call or contact us at info@baf.solutions. We would love to cultivate some of these muscadines and make some wine and see what we can create. All right, so that is the Black Achievement Fund. We also have our BAF Village, which is our member-run online platform that offers weekly programming. We have a book club, we have meditation and fitness, movie of the week, our own Toastmasters club. They also help organize our Juneteenth, our Kwanzaa, our Black History celebrations, so on and so forth. And Education for Life Academy is our education partner. Through Education for Life Academy, all members get free access to an online curriculum that begins with the origins of all humanity in Africa over 300,000 years ago, as opposed to beginning with slavery. So it's a very empowering curriculum, and that's free for all Black Achievement Fund members. Our upcoming events, we have Sunday, the 29th, our Black History Bingo that will be coming up. So please, 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 this is going to be really, really, really fun. It's electronic. You can play anywhere in the world where you are, and you get emailed your bingo cards. Instead of having numbers, we're going to have the names of women from Black history. And 5 names in a row, you win bingo, that sort of thing. There's going to be cash prizes as well as Black Achievement Fund merchandise. And all of the money that we raise for our bingo is going towards our New Kemet Pyramid 1 Guest House fundraiser. All right. Coming up October 12th, BAF Fall Education Forum. To learn more about that, click on here. And to buy your tickets for bingo or for the education forum, just simply go here. All right, and for those of you who want to know a little bit more about what we've accomplished since June of 2020, on our website, you can scroll down and you'll get a sample of that. And I cannot go on without telling you guys to please follow us on social media. If you have not subscribed to this YouTube channel, please take the time to do so now. Just hit the subscribe, and then once you hit subscribe, hit the notification button, and then hit all, the black bell. And that'll let you know anytime that we go live. You don't have to worry about, knowing, did I miss it? It's going to alert your phone that we're about to go live. All right, so that is what the Black Achievement Fund is all about. To join is very simple. You go here to join, and we have different memberships. We have individual membership, $9 or more. You can pay the whole 108 at one time. We have a gift membership that you can give to someone and make them a part of the organization. We have an honorary membership for those of you who may want to get a membership in honor of a deceased loved one, a business membership, as well as our nonprofit membership. All right. And then you'll see here, all of our members, the first 10,000 members will receive an official BAF founding member certificate. You also get free access to the Standing on the Shoulders of Giants African History curriculum and access to all BAF programs and services, including the Kemet Club. And for our members, you don't have to, our Kemet Club is open to all of our members. They just get a passcode and use the passcode to come in anytime they want. And the club is open 7 days a week, 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. All right. Now, we have been talking about what does African liberation mean for the Black Achievement Fund, and what is our solution to achieve African liberation. For the Black Achievement Fund, African liberation is about self-determination. Black people having the power and the resources to determine the fate of our, the political, economic, and social aspects of our community. And the only way to achieve that in the American context is to become our very own municipality. Hence, our very own city, our very own town, however you want to phrase it. So that is what the Black Achievement Fund is endeavoring to establish, our very own town. And not just any town, but we're endeavoring to create a town that will be a modern, futuristic town that will rival the best cities here in the United States of America. We are incorporating all of our guiding principles into this community. Free healthcare, free dental care, access to fresh food that will be growing in our community, subsidies for our entrepreneurs and our business community, so on and so forth. So we're looking forward to doing that. Right now we have 118 acres to begin the process of city building. So we're creating our own self-sustaining community in Toomsboro, Georgia. Once again, that is our new Kemet retreat. So for those of you who are interested in buying land, you can go to Pharaoh's Row and learn about how to do that. And we will be having another info session for those who are interested in buying land strictly on financing options for buying the land as well as getting your house built. All right. So in talking about these Black-owned cities and towns, we're going to turn our focus as one of our members, Brother Isaiah. All right, look at him. And Brianna. We're going to go to Florida this time. You guys, to my co-host. Thank you. All right. I had it queued up. So we're going to play a few videos on the town of Eatonville, Florida, made famous by Zora Neale Hurston. And then we're going to go into a little discussion.
Being a caregiver for an aging loved one is a special calling, and there are many bonding experiences associated with.
As part of our ongoing Central Florida Gets Real initiative, we're bringing you stories about Black history this month. Every year up until the pandemic, thousands of people would pack into the town of Eatonville to celebrate author Zora Neale Hurston.
But outside of that, many people really don't know the impact of the small town sandwiched between Maitland and Winter Park, right there along I-4. Dinesh Broom shares the history of America's first incorporated Black town.
If you just think about what has happened over time, the fact that Eatonville still exists is itself noteworthy.
If you blink on your I-4 drive between Maitland and Winter Park, you might miss it. But if you look close, you'll see the town that freedom built.
If you think about what was happening in the South in the 1880s, you have the rise of the Ku Klux Klan. You really have people who were recently freed from enslavement trying to find their way in how to live as citizens in the United States.
During Reconstruction, all Black communities or race colonies started popping up in the South. Free Blacks cleared land, planted groves, and helped build Maitland. But they wanted something of their own. And in 1887, Eatonville became the first Black town to officially be incorporated in the U.S.
The town was founded as a Black haven.
On the front page of an 1889 edition of the Eatonville Speaker, the author tried to recruit other Black families, saying, quote, "Colored people of the United States solved the great race problem by securing a home in Eatonville, Florida, a Negro city governed by Negroes." The article detailed how in the 1870s, Black men tried to buy parcels near Maitland, but so great was the prejudice then existing against the Negro that no one would sell them the land for such a purpose. In the 1880s, two white men, Josiah Eaton and Lewis Lawrence, who lived in Maitland, bought some of the land with the goal of selling it at a reasonable price to Black men. Lawrence built and donated a church to the community even before it was a town. St. Lawrence AME was rebuilt and is still used today, with a history older than the town itself. And Eaton's name lives on in the most obvious fashion.
People in Eatonville helped to incorporate the city of Maitland, so that kind of animosity that did exist and that destroyed Rosewood. That animosity that drove the black people out of Ocoee did not exist in terms of the relationship with Maitland and Eatonville.
Eatonville was allowed to flourish.
This was the only place for blacks for entertainment.
I talked to Louise Franklin on the property her family has owned for almost 100 years. We sat just yards from the imaginary line separating Eatonville from her home in Maitland. But she remembers when that division wasn't so imaginary.
Those who lived in the Maitland area, which is a very few, we had to go to school in Eatonville, churches in Eatonville.
She, like the other black children, went to the Hungerford School, one of the best schools for vocational training and early STEM-like programs. Today, what was the sprawling campus is practically empty. But every year, up until the pandemic, the grounds come alive to celebrate the town's most famous former resident, author and anthropologist Zora Neale Hurston. She wrote about Eatonville throughout her life, and in her most famous novel, Their Eyes Were Watching God, she said, Maitland is Maitland until it gets to Hearst Corner, and then it's Eatonville.
That's an honor. We're proud of that.
Deanna Albritton, WFTV Tonight.
And you can join Vanessa Eccles for Getting Real about Central Florida's Black history. That is Saturday night at 7 right here on Channel 9.
Catch the next WFTV Tonight at 11.
Okay.
Uncle Bud's a man like this. He can't get a woman, gonna use his fist. Uncle Bud.
Zora Neale Hurston put her hometown of Eatonville, Florida on the map with heartfelt stories, folklore, and songs like this one. When she worked for the Depression-era Works Progress Administration, or WPA, Stetson Kennedy was one of her editors. He convinced her to share what she'd collected from Florida's rural heart.
Toward the end, I asked her if she knew a song called Uncle Bud. And she said, yes, I know it. And I said, what kind of song would you call that? And she said, well, that's one of those juke songs.
What, is it sung before the respectable ladies?
Never. It's one of those juke songs. And the woman that they sing Uncle Bud in front of is a juke woman. And
of course you heard it from women.
Yes, I heard it from women.
Every community on earth should wish they had a Zora Hurston to do the same for them.
But that's not always how residents here have felt. The Eatonville Zora described in the WPA Florida Guide was a private protective place, and the community has struggled, like Zora, with ebbs and flows of respect. Its personality hasn't changed. Despite pressure from sprawling Orlando, it still feels like a small, independent town. This was one of the first black municipalities to incorporate back in the 1880s. The Franklins have been living in the area for generations and have worked hard to preserve Eatonville's history.
Myself, I'm proud. I love Eatonville. I'm proud of it because it's, I can look back and how a few 27 black men got together and started this town, and it's still lasting. So I'm proud of that.
Mr. Franklin remembered seeing Zora drive into town when he was a boy. A star of the Harlem Renaissance, she was the center of attention here at home.
Oh yeah, they would crowd around, and she was glad to see Zora. She'd go off and stay a couple of years, and then she would always come back to Eatonville.
But his sister said that sometimes people were taken aback by what Zora was sharing about their community. For example, in the Florida Travel Guide, she suggested that Lee Glenn was selling alcohol and, quote, whatever goes with transient rooms.
You know, she would write about things without their permission.
Ella Dinkins agreed that her neighbors were not always happy.
Some of them didn't like what she was saying because she told the truth. If you had a girlfriend and you had a wife, she told you had a girlfriend and named the girlfriend. She just told it like it was.
But personally, Miss Dinkins didn't really mind.
In Mules and Men, I think she especially talked about the beautiful Johnson girls. And they were, who were the Johnson girls? Oh, there were 4 of us. My mother had 8 children, so there were 4 boys and 4 girls.
So wait, were you one of the Johnson girls?
I was one of the Johnson girls.
See, I didn't realize.
She shakes like jelly all over.
Eventually, Zora Neale Hurston left Eatonville for good. Her books went out of print, and she died penniless and alone in Fort Pierce, Florida in 1960. Zora's home was eventually torn down, as was the famous Joe Clark store that used to sit across the street. The town had hit some hard times.
We had everything we needed out here, and all of a sudden integration came in, and everything just fell apart.
The local college preparatory high school became a technical school for the county, and Eatonville students were bussed out to other areas, which diluted the town's cohesiveness.
For example, black students, black children were accustomed to being hugged. I mean, I remember this. You hug your teacher in the morning or you hug your teacher at night. I mean, that's just what happened. You were not hugging your white teacher because your white teacher, I mean, if that's not the way that's a cultural divide there.
Then, in the 1980s, the county tried to push a highway through the community's main street. And that's when things started to change.
It was pretty bizarre. They were talking about, as I said, they were going to 5 Lane Kennedy. I think they had 3 retention ponds. 3 retention ponds that they were going to put in at 1.3 miles of road. 3 of them. And one of them was going to be in the park.
With her mom and others, the town rebelled. To fight back, residents founded the Association to Preserve the Eatonville Community. And NY began planning a festival to show off the community's ties to Zora Neale Hurston. In 1990, the first Zora Festival took place and was a major success, attracting 10,000 people.
You had Alice Walker who came, and Ruby Dee, and Robert Hemingway, and all these people were coming from out of the area, coming to Eatonville. Well, something was going on.
The festival now happens every year, putting Eatonville back on the map. Kennedy Boulevard never did become a highway. In 1998, the town joined the National Historic Registry. And in 2006, Eatonville got a new library, named, of course, after Zora. Today, the town has 2,100 people, up from 136 in 1939 when the Florida Guide was published. It's still poorer than the surrounding communities, but it's also a pleasant, mostly happy place where people tell stories on their porches, enjoy the local lakes, and flock to church on Sundays. In fact, a growing number of families from outside Eatonville now come here for services like this one at the church where Zora Neale Hurston's father used to preach. And here, even the youngest members now recognize what Zora always knew, that Eatonville is a place of independence and beauty, embarrassing stories and all.
And most people, if they just drive through here, they'll think, oh, this city is nothing compared to any of the other ones. But if you actually stop and take a moment to look into the history, it's a very nice city.
But my slow drag will bring you back, or well, you may go. But
Man, you know, as a historian, one of the things that we're constantly doing is looking at history for instruction. Everything wasn't all bad. What were some of the good things that were worth saving that we've lost? That is a question that comes up to a historian over and over and over again. Is there strictly a forward progression to progress? Is it possible to go forward and backwards at the same time? Because that's what it feels like we've done here in America. We've progressed in terms of demanding our social rights, our political rights. We have failed at asserting any type of significant economic power. In addition to that, you have Black people, when you bring up reparations, one of our members sent me over the weekend, I don't know who's here from California, but the Black Caucus in California just recently blocked California's reparations bills from passing. Black people, this past weekend. If you have some time, look it up. But what we see over and over again is that we lost something very key and very vital after segregation was over, was outlawed. We lost dozens and dozens and dozens of vibrant Black communities that had a moral, upstanding citizenry that ensured that the culture was intact, that children were being reared with reverence to their history, respect to their elders, in a very, very, very unconscious African way. And many of you, many of our members, you can just recall in your own lifetime how radically different the Black community is now than it was when you were growing up. Even myself, I'm 47, 48, and when I grew up, even in the projects, there was a level of respect that we as young people had for all of the adults in the community. There was a level of cultural activity that exists in our community. There were parades every year. There were family reunions all of the time. You had Black people still relying upon each other in times of need and times of crisis. But there was a discernible Black community that understood that Black people as a whole, as a community, we needed the support of each other, and in turn, we needed to offer that support when someone else needed us. As we have progressed in this experiment of integration, one of the things that I've noticed is that the cultural cohesion that we once had is now being diluted. Less celebrations, less cultural activity going on, less community even within Black families. Now, everybody can point out elements of dysfunction in their family that have always existed, but beyond that, we were still a family. First cousins all knew each other intimately. And now I have first cousins and their children, you know, I see them how often. One of the things that we're trying to do with the Black Achievement Fund, as I mentioned earlier, is to reestablish some of the good elements that existed prior to integration. Reestablish Black-owned municipalities, Black cities, where we can not just create a safe space for Black people and for Black culture to flourish, but to begin the process of developing communities of the future, developing model communities that not just Black people will want to emulate, but people the world over will want to emulate. Our goal is to showcase how a city, an African-run city, under an African worldview, would look like in the 21st century. If Black people had it their way, you gave them their own plot of land to start their own city, to appoint their own city officials, to establish their own institutions, you give them all of that, what can they come up with? That is the question at hand. And that is the question that the Black Achievement Fund is here to solve. But when you look at all of the towns that still exist that we created and those that don't exist, there are only a few that achieved a world-class level. And we all know the history behind those. We are here saying to you, Black people, we have the opportunity here in America to have a blank slate, to buy our own land, to establish our own cities from the East Coast to the West Coast. Not offer a referendum to take over existing territory to make it a Black city. I'm talking about creating the entire city, master planning the entire city at one time so that we can create model cities that have all of the amenities that we seek, but yet free health care, free dental care, access to parks, clean water, fresh food, safety, public safety, our own police officers, our own courtrooms, our own judges, our own prosecutors. This is a level of freedom, a level of power that we have seldom exerted here in the United States of America. And I want you guys to just really sit and contemplate what I'm saying. We all know we have the capabilities of doing so, but we just haven't shifted our focus away from integration long enough to get to the point of having the collective will to want to once again begin establishing Black cities. And in fact, many of the people who have the resources to do so are intimately tied with the integration establishment. So doing so may compromise their positions, their deals, their status amongst this group of people. So it's up to us, those of us who are not intimately tied to their system, to make the conscious will that just as our ancestors did 100 years ago, we have the abilities to do the same thing so that we can enjoy self-determination right here, right now. We don't have to wait for 10 million Black people to get aboard. We need 200 permanent residents, 620 acres of land, and to be able to provide 4 out of 10 essential services. Of those are having a police department, having a water source, having a post office, having hospitals. So we're telling you, if this is what you believe that Black people should be doing, this is the organization that you need to be joining and be a part of. Right now, as I mentioned over and over again, we have over 100 acres of land that we're developing, and we did it with 159 people. We're making history. This is not an organization of rhetoric. Since we have been collecting contributions in June of 2020, we have been nothing but business here at the Black Achievement Fund. All of the things that we're promising, we are materializing, and we're going to continue to do so. So we just need a few more of you to get off of the sidelines, to join us so that we can accelerate the progress of establishing our own city. I'm gonna go and share with you guys another video on Eatonville, because I also want to talk about some of the challenges of maintaining our sovereignty once we do get it. We all know that there's a huge contingent of white people that want nothing better than separation between the races in terms of our social interactions, where we live, where we go to school, and all of those things, right here in 2024. And that is evident in our residential makeup across America. It's evident in our churches, our spirituality. Sunday is the most segregated day in America still. Even the most diverse city in the United States of America, New York, residentially is one of the most segregated cities in the whole entire country. So, one of the key aspects of establishing this city is having the ability to have a robust police force, to be able to have access to military-grade weapons, surveillance, so on and so forth. So for the first time, we can establish a world-class Black city here in America and have all of the power and resources to also defend it. All right. So here we are again, back to the town of Eatonville, and here's some of the challenges they face to maintain their sovereignty. Dr. Coretta Scott King said, freedom is never really won. You win it in every generation, and you got to keep fighting for it after that.
Most music apps have some kind of one-size-fits-all workout playlist. But the YouTube Music app has ad-free playlists.
In the decades after the Civil War, an estimated 100 all-black towns were settled across the United States. Most are long gone. But Martha Teichner visits one of the first and last that's still fighting to hold on.
It's only the telling that makes sense of these old photos of Eatonville, Florida. And the great teller of Eatonville's story was anthropologist and noted writer Zora Neale Hurston, who grew up here.
Joe Clark's store was the heart and spring of the town. Men sat around the store on boxes and benches and passed this world and the next one through their mouths.
Third-generation Eatonville resident N.Y. Nathiri heads the Association to Preserve the Eatonville Community. Joe Clark is which one?
Standing at the left, Joe Clark was the mayor and actually the founder of the town of Eatonville.
In 1887, that it even happened was remarkable. After the end of the Civil War, formerly enslaved African Americans flocked to Central Florida to work. White property owners refused to sell them land until Joe Clark convinced two white Northerners with homes in the area, Lewis Lawrence and Josiah Eaton, to make available plots they could buy in what became Eatonville, one of the first black towns to incorporate.
There was a lot of resistance from the surrounding communities because if they could incorporate, that meant that they could vote, they could have their own law enforcement, they could manage their own business.
Everett Fly is a landscape architect who has spent more than 4 decades researching black towns.
By 1915, there were less than 60 incorporated black towns in the entire United States.
How many of those 60 are left?
I think probably 20, 25 is all that's left. More than 90% of it is about racism. It's everything from, oh, it's not important, or they won't know the difference if we move them out or erase them. No one's going to do anything.
Eatonville today is struggling. The median income here around $27,000 a year. This Family Dollar is the only store. There's no supermarket, no gas station, no pharmacy. So many of the black towns have disappeared. What's different about Eatonville?
What we have the ability to do here is to leverage the genius of Zora Neale Hurston and the authenticity of Eatonville as a cultural and historical space.
Zora tourism exists already.
Just enjoy the Zora Festival.
The Zora Festival, Nathiri's preservation group puts on every year, before COVID, regularly attracted over 50,000 people. Fewer now. But Eatonville would like to leverage something else. This land, 100 acres, 10 minutes from downtown Orlando, half an hour from Disney World, valued at more than $20 million in 2019. Certainly worth much more now.
As a small community of 2,500, it's sitting on the largest undeveloped parcel of land in Orange County. It's sitting in a very sweet position geographically.
Nathiri's opinion, Eatonville's survival will depend on who wins the fight over this land, which is as closely tied to its past as it is to its future. The trouble is, the town doesn't own it, and never has.
This is an insult. This is an insult. No trespassing, keep out.
Once, it was part of a 300-acre campus that occupied about 40% of Eatonville. The land was donated by philanthropists to a trust which operated the Robert Hungerford Normal and Industrial School, a private boarding school established in 1899 to provide vocational education to Black students in the segregated South.
This is when I was in high school. I was voted May Day Queen.
By the time Vera King went there, it was a Black public school. This looks like one of the original boarding school buildings.
It is. We had classes in that building.
In 1951, the Orange County School Board bought Hungerford from the trust that owned it. For a little over $16,000, the school board got all 300 acres, but with this important restriction. The land still had to be used for the education of Black children.
This is me at Hungerford.
For 30 years, Vera King worked at the high school that was built on the site. Now it's gone too, along with 200 of those 300 acres.
If we aren't careful, Eatonville is going to be extinct.
King, 85 years old, an Eatonville native, resents what happened when the Orange County Public Schools started selling off parcel after parcel of the Hungerford property, getting the courts and the trustees again and again to cut the number of acres required to be used for educating Black kids. So now it's 0.
They really profited from it, from those sales.
The Orange County school system was paid nearly $8 million in those deals. You have hashtag land back on your sleeve.
Yes, nobody has made enough noise, and nobody has demanded the land back.
Julian Johnson isn't the only Eatonville resident who thinks the Orange County Public Schools ought to just give the land to Eatonville as a kind of restitution.
This is economic justice that we're fighting for. Land is economic justice. It's about demanding it back. You've done the people wrong over and over.
So, with those last 100 acres set to be sold on March 31st to a developer for $14 million, well below their last appraised value,
I'm from Eatonville.
Johnson helped to mobilize for a showdown.
The streets are talking, the people are talking, and the people are angry and furious.
The only control Eatonville has over what gets built is through its zoning and planning. Last month, the town council met to vote on changes that would clear the way for this, a new community of more than 350 homes and apartments.
Once the project is built out, it'll offer shopping, dining, entertainment options for residents and visitors to partake and enjoy.
The packed room didn't see it that way.
Quite simply, this development will erase this living, thriving, historical community.
For y'all to come and put all this stuff up here and think we as Black people gonna be able to stay here, shame on yourself.
We're gonna be outnumbered, and I want you guys to vote no.
They did. But the developer can still buy the site and build, so long as it's something consistent with Eatonville's vision for the town's survival. In a statement to Sunday Morning, the Orange County Public School System reaffirmed its commitment to go ahead with the sale. No word yet from the developer. For Eatonville residents, a lawsuit may be next. A last stand in a losing war? Not if they can help it.
This is sacred land. It's special for us. It's who we are. And we're not going to let them take it away from us. No.
Man, And as you can see, it does not stop. It doesn't stop. Here, 300 acres was clearly given to the Black community by a philanthropist for strictly the use of the Black community for educating Black people. And a white school district, just in collusion with white courts and judges, worked to ebb away at that 300 acres to where it's now only 100 acres, and they profited almost $8 million. Do you think any of that was given back to the community of Eatonville? And again, by integrating our community, we have diluted our power. When that young man stood up and said, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do about this? How many people was behind him? We're in an era of social media. How much control do we have in that space? We have to be able to create and establish powerful Black communities, powerful Black cities that have the power to put a spotlight on any of our issues and demand redress. We need a centralized leadership that represents the greater voice of the Black community. We need a centralized leadership that can keep us connected. But if we continue to operate in isolation, we will continue to be picked off one by one. This was my first time hearing about this land in Eatonville because I decided to do a deeper dive into this community. And it's a story that we hear over and over and over again. In the class that I shared with you guys on the all-Black town of Langston, Oklahoma, we saw it yet once again, that Langston University was shorted over $300 million in federal funds for their education. One of the things I want you to know, Black people, no matter how many of them smile in your face, at the end of the day, racism is about white privilege over everybody else. It is affirmative action for white people. It simply says that white people deserve, just because of the color of their skin, to have an advantage in every aspect in American society, just by being white. But yet they want to flip it on us and say affirmative action is reverse racism. In order to regain power, we need to first utilize their own system to the full capacity, where we afford ourselves a level of power that they're not ready for, but can't stop. We are not building a new Black city without resources. We're not, and this is one of the reasons why we're doing this as an international organization. We have over 6 members internationally. We have members in all 50 states. And all of those members have a direct stake in the land that we own, the cities that we build, the institutions that we own, the institutions that we control. This is power. This is sovereignty. This is everything that we ask for. And we get to have it without a war. We can establish our own cities without asking anybody else for anything. But we seem to be 100% asleep when it comes to our history. The leadership that we have, the integrationist leadership, do you think they're studying all black towns? Do you think they're studying what the advantages was for black people doing segregation? Do you think they're studying that? They've turned the page on that. They've turned the page on history. And this conversation for many of them is going backwards. So when we are deciding as to who we're following as leaders in our community, this is a real question we have to ask. Where are you trying to lead us? Is it further away from who we are, or is it closer to who we are? The Black Achievement Fund's leadership is 100% focused on establishing black power in the realest sense of the words. Political power, police power, judicial power, tax power. We get all of that when we establish our own community. So, for those of you who are on the sidelines, please join us, because there's nothing that you can think of. There's nothing that you can say why what we're doing is a bad idea. You can't say that our leadership is incompetent, because we've done far more than even imagine with a little bit of money. And have been completely transparent about it. So right now, if you haven't joined, stop what you're doing. Go to baf.solutions. I'm going to help you. baf.solution/join, or once you're on the home page, hit the red button for join. It takes 5 minutes to sign up. This is not a contract. You can cancel anytime, and all of your contributions are 100% tax deductible. Right now, as I mentioned, we are raising $75,000 to build our very first collectively owned guest house, which we are calling Pyramid 1. And today is September 15th. We're supposed to get to $9,000 by the end of this month. We are literally less than $90 from our halfway mark for this month's goal of $4,000. So if you have not made your donation or made a donation to our New Kemet fundraiser, please, please, please do so. All right. To build the community that we want, you already know it's going to cost money. All right. So we need you guys to chip in. Every single dollar counts. For those of you, to break it down, if we had 500 member supporters contribute $150, that would be the $75,000 right then and there. That's how simple it becomes. All right. This fundraiser, we have it open for 24 months, but we're hoping to reach our $75,000 goal way before 24 months. All right. We were able to raise the money to buy the land outright with no mortgage in 24 months. So now that we have the land, we got to build on it. All right. The land isn't a trophy in and of itself. All right. The land is the means to a greater end. And that greater end is establishing our first model community. All right. We have to be able to show tangible results if we want more and more people to believe in this model of Black liberation. So make your contribution today. Everything is 100% transparent. As you can see here, this is how much we raised. This is 100% tax deductible. And if you don't have $150, $500, $1,000, you can donate monthly. $10 a month pays the 150 in 24 months, $15 pays it in 12 months, $20, $25, or you can give a custom amount. All right, it is really, really simple, but we have to put our money where our mouth is if we truly believe in what the Black Achievement Fund is representing and what the Black Achievement Fund is doing. For all of you who have made contributions to date, I want to sincerely, sincerely thank you. You will be, for those of you who have donated $250 and more, you will start receiving your free night vouchers for our first guest house once it is built for you guys to enjoy. We also want to remind you that we still have our donor brick campaign going on and our Black History Bingo. All right, if you haven't played Black History Bingo with us yet, please get your tickets and do so. It is really fun, and you're going to learn about some really powerful Black women in history. And also, you will be raising money for our New Kemet Pyramid 1 guest house. All right, and that's going to be 2 Sundays from now, the 29th, and it's only $20. All right, you'll get emailed your electronic cards as well as the 20 biographies of the Black women that are going to be featured in your card that you'll be able to utilize or share, I should say, with friends, family, other educators, and things like that. All right, and our educational forum, please show love as well. And I'm going to stop there. Are there any questions, comments from our members on Zoom or anybody on YouTube?
There's a question from Rose in the chat. How do you express checks or money orders?
Yes, you just make the check or money order out to the Black Achievement Fund, and you mail it to our corporate address, which is on our website, and I'll share that with you. At the bottom of every last one of our web pages, you'll see our corporate mailing address here, the 1700 Northside Drive, Northwest, Suite A7-730, Atlanta, Georgia, 30318. Our EIN number is also here for those who need to file their taxes. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, we do take checks. We do take money orders. And trust me, all dollars count, all right, and is appreciated. Like I said, we were able to buy the land with 159 people. All right, when we have our next Juneteenth, I would love to be able to be building this house at least, you know. So every single time we come to the land, we have more and more things to show for it. We're in the process right now of finalizing the house plans for our very first homeowner in our New Kemet community. So I'm extremely happy about that. So keep paying attention, keep watching. We're going to continue to progress and to make this thing happen. I'm going to sign off now. We're right at 3 o'clock. Thank you all once again for your commitment, for your generosity, for your faith in our organization and in the mission that we are endeavoring to achieve. If you got any questions about the Black Achievement Fund, just contact us at info@baf.solutions. Once again, to join, it's baf.solutions/join. And if you want to know what we're doing at any given time, just go to our website. We have a new website for you guys. We've updated it to bring it more current, make it more user-friendly, especially for our members, and more easier to access critical information. So we've added a program calendar, for example, on our website, right under home. So if you hover over home, You can go to our program calendar and see everything that we have going on at any given time. Okay? All right, thank you all. Love you all. Please make that contribution today. Help us get over the 9,000 mark by the end of September, and we will see you all soon. Peace. Black Achievement.
Peace.
Hug.
Peace.
Hug.